Welcome back, YouTube, to the GoatCast podcast. I'm Big Nige, of course, joined by CW. How are we doing today, CW?
We are tired, but we're here. We've been a lacrosse game, and we right here. So a born winner, though, like somebody else. So I'm here.
Glad to see you. Welcome everyone back to the GoatCast podcast. Not much to talk about on this week's show. I mean, all these teams are gearing up for the playoffs, um, but a lot of media beef going around. More specifically, Skip Bayless and Gilbert Arenas. For those who have not watched uh, Gil's side of things and Skip's side of things. It pretty much started from when Skip Bayless had like reached, or no, LeBron James had passed 50,000 points like all time. I think that's a combination between obviously regular season and postseason for those who weren't aware. Um, and Skip had like had his little soliloquy about it, congratulating LeBron. And then Gilbert Arenas fires back and says, you would have seen the big if you would have seen the bigger picture, you would realize just how great this man LeBron James is. Um, which again prompted Skip Bayless to respond and basically invite Gilbert Arenas on his show, the Skip Bayless show on YouTube. And he just kind of had his little 15-minute dialogue, highlighting all of the things like I'm very fair to LeBron James, but then he would go and explain LeBron became the Frozen one in 2011. He talked about all the years of him not being the best free throw shooter, not being a great high volume 3-point shooter based on superstar standards. He would also describe, I believe it was in the 2023 postseason against the Denver Nuggets. He explained in the fourth quarter, LeBron was like, I think 5 for like 20 or something from the field and like 1 for 10 from the 3-point line and then those fourth quarters or something like that along those lines, just continuing to kind of trash LeBron in each way, but uplifting MJ because one of Gil's points was you never criticize Jordan that way. And Skip was like, there was nothing to criticize, but found all these different things to criticize for LeBron. So with the little background painted for you, just thinking back over the years, because Skip Bayless is known as the LeBron James hater. So do you think Skip's criticism of LeBron over the years in or out of bounds?
Um, the totality, I'll say it is out of bounds because he has been hypercritical of LeBron. Can y'all hear me good? Because
Yeah, I got you.
okay, okay. So yeah, I think he's a little hypercritical on LeBron because I think he's such a Jordan guy that he can't see through another lens than a Jordan lens. So that's why he just he doesn't want LeBron to surpass Jordan, and he's made that clear. And he's a beat writer or was a beat writer, so he's got a lot of he's got a relationship with Jordan and his brand. So I think it's out of bounds. I mean, I think he is unfair. He's one of those guys that just will not give LeBron his just due, but he'll do it in a way that he sets himself up to be able to criticize LeBron if LeBron fails. That's why when he said, "Oh, I love the Lakers, this Lakers team," as soon as they failed, he has some ammunition for LeBron. So, he's just a guy that, there's just those news analysts or sports analysts that just have something against other players, and he just has it out for LeBron. Um, yeah, so I mean, Gil, but I'll let you keep going because I could have a whole sidebar on Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah, I mean Gil's response. I mean, I didn't watch the full. He had like a almost 3 hour video response. Dressed up in the MJ attire. Basically went and dissected each of Skip's points on his 15-minute video. And he did say that if Skip still wants to debate him after that 2.5, 2:45 minute video, um, that he would be down to do it. No response yet, so I'm not sure if they will. Maybe they will, because I mean, this both of these guys are marketing experts, so they understand. Like,
Skip needs it. Let's just say that.
Skip definitely needs it, but I think they still will debate each other because I think it'd be a great video for both involved. Um, So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, he just dissected all of his opinions. Basically, was like, I know one of the funniest things, he kept calling Skip Skipper. Every time that he was talking
Yeah.
about him, he was saying, because I think one of Skip's points was like, I'm not sure that anybody knows basketball more than me, and he was referring again to one of Gilbert Arenas' points, saying that he doesn't watch the games, and he was like, that's baloney. Nobody watches more live basketball than him. And the reason I say live is because that's one of the biggest points that Gil made when he was reflecting and recapping all his points. You don't get the full picture seeing a play live. It's a different perspective when you go back and watch the film, see how this play transpired, who blew their defensive coverage to lead to this highlight dunk where someone's getting dunked on. It doesn't start with someone just walking the ball up the court and just dunking on somebody. Someone has to get blown by. The help's got to be late. By the time the man's in the air, the help just rotates and then they get dunked on. Little nuances of the game that if you just watch a whole lot of live basketball, you might miss it. And that was one of Gil's biggest points. But to answer the question directly, do I think Skip's criticism of LeBron was in or out of bounds? I mean, I'm one of the biggest LeBron supporters out there, but, and it's kind of crazy for me to say this, but I kind of think Skip's points about LeBron, albeit I don't agree with them, but I think they're inbounds. And the reason I'm kind of leaning towards inbounds, because I had to think about this for a little bit, because in theory, I really wanted to say he was out of bounds because everything he says to me is utterly blasphemous. But I will appease to Skip that I think some of his points, even though they're a little watered down, they do make sense. Just being a LeBron fan for as long as I've been, it's like, okay, so you talk about like the late game free throws. Okay, I've watched plenty of fourth quarters where LeBron, he struggled at the free throw line at times. Do those moments in his career highlight his careers in like the totality? No, I don't agree with that. But when you would point out, when they would go on First Take and he'd debate Stephen A. Smith, and they would be like, what's the biggest reason for Miami's collapse in this fourth quarter? Well, if LeBron, if he shoots 2 for 8 from the free throw line in the pivotal stretch, yeah, you have to point to it. Obviously, there are other things. But again, it gets, highlighted because it skips saying it about LeBron. Obviously, no one's going to say LeBron wouldn't be as big of a star, but I don't think in terms of the sports media portion, without a Skip Bayless, I don't think the platform is there for sports media, specifically for LeBron and players that came, after him, like the scrutiny aspect, like the buzz, the whole reason why people are podcasting now is because of a Skip Bayless, a Stephen A. Smith. Like they started it, even though people didn't agree with their takes or their analysis to get to their takes because they don't come from basketball backgrounds, i.e., actually playing the game. I just think the criticism was inbounds because it also led to everything that's transpiring now with all these player empowerment, all the player podcasts. The players controlling the narrative, like all these things coming together. Like if we're speaking strictly from LeBron's talent perspective, nobody's going to argue that, right? Skip's just the old man sitting on the picket fence, just pushing his narrative out there. But I think there were some truths to his statements. Therefore, I can't dismiss them and say they are out of bounds, because even though I don't agree with them, they do hold some truth in the manner at which he's saying them. It's just, it's a little elevated for TV because I know he actually believes a lot of the stuff he's saying. Like he actually believes that LeBron's probably not even top 10. I believe he believes that. Do I agree with him? Heck no. But, I think it's in bounds. I think criticism is fair. I don't agree with his criticism, but I definitely think it's in bounds.
Okay, I mean, I I'm very shocked because I figured you, of all people, would think that was out of bounds because it's criticizing your goat. But the reason why I said out of bounds is because he goes very hard on LeBron, and I think it's not in a what I think is a motivational way. I think it has some venom to it sometimes. I just think he doesn't like LeBron. He doesn't like what LeBron stands for, which I think a lot of people online and in the media, they're just not LeBron fans. Something about him rubs them the wrong way. So, they just have a vendetta against him. And so he's under a specific microscope, and any little thing he does is, blown out of proportion. That's why I said he was out of bounds. Now, a lot of the stuff he says is truthful when you put context to it, and that's a lot of times we see people not put a lot of context to things. They just kind of generally say something, and it's just a simplified version. Whereas if you put some context to it, you can kind of tell the true story of what's going on. And I think that Skip doesn't always do that. I think sometimes he just throws out a simplified statement, and yet it has some truth to it, but there's context to it too. If LeBron might not want to go to the free throw line if you got Kyrie going over here, so you're not going to drive to the basket. You're going to kick it to the hot hand. So you got to put some context to some of the stuff he says. But like I said, I think he's out of bounds for the most part because he's so negative about LeBron, and he's not on. He'll say little things about Jordan, but even I can't just be like, Jordan's flawless and there's nothing negative to say about him. But with Skip, it's like it's just rose-colored goggles when he's talking about Jordan. So yeah.
Quick shout out to Sports Talk Only.
What's going on, Sports Talk?
But we will get into the next thing, considering we just talked about Stephen A. and like we were talking off air a little bit, where LeBron made his GOAT appearance on the Pat McAfee show, where they've had a, in quote, LeBron versation. It was an hour-long little interview they had with him, asked him various questions. But one of the biggest things was his clapback at Mr. Stephen A. Smith. Basically, I'm going to be paraphrasing because obviously we don't have the clip in front of me, but he essentially was saying that Stephen A. Smith was like Taylor Swift in his he's just clamoring for this next big moment to talk about LeBron James. And I'm gonna get into Stephen A.'s response here in a little bit too, because he had a response on the Stephen A. Smith show as well.
I haven't heard that.
So. But yeah, he didn't pull any punches with his words either.
Okay.
But yeah, let's pretty much LeBron said that. He said that I'm still paraphrasing, but his job as LeBron, as the player, is to protect his teammates.
Put it on this show.
Oh, facts. Now, definitely got to get that interview one day. That'd be legendary. But his job is to protect his teammates and to obviously protect his household, i.e., Bronny James. And he said that Stephen A. missed the big point, and that obviously that was the big point, is being that guy who stands in front of the media to be like, nah, we're not talking about this. This kind of energy is not welcome. Things of that nature. And because everybody knows, because I know before that, they had the whole big confrontation where LeBron walks up to him and Stephen A. is just standing there like this, wide, stiff neck, wide shoulder, just looking up the proverbial father. But yeah, so that was LeBron's response to it. He also had some funny conversations. He said Brian Windhorst, who honestly, I believe the way how Brian Windhorst talks about LeBron, you would think they're friends. But LeBron actually said on the podcast, he said that guys like Brian Windhorst think they're like best bleeping friends, because LeBron was cussing. He was cussing up a storm in this.
Yeah, I watched the edited version, so there was long pauses.
Oh yeah, and the audio in that whole like interview was also janky too. Like I thought my phone was acting up when I was watching it, but no, the audio is actually janky throughout. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, I think did you watch the ESPN version?
I think so. Yeah,
you got to go to Pat McAfee. That that one was, because they were saying some throwing F-bombs in there, so they had to
Mm.
bleep out. They had to silence portions of it.
Which is crazy because I know they cussed in some of that, but
Yeah,
some of the stuff they were beeping out wasn't even like they were just talking, like they were just like,
yeah,
but yeah. So, but he was calling people like Brian Windhorst weird because they weren't even friends. Like people, like I was
Mm,
thinking they're friends and they're not even friends.
me too.
And he was talking about, they hinted at retirement, saying that the days where he feels like after five, like because he shows up 5 hours, didn't know this either, before games, and was saying that the day when I come in 5 hours, do my training, do all that stuff, and it's not fun to me going over film and all that, then I'll know when to hang it up. Um, Last point I'll bring up, because they did bring this up in the first take, was that Giannis would put up 250 points in the 70s, which prompted the first take segment where Mad Dog, Brian Windhorst, and Stephen A. Smith
Yeah.
responded. Won't get into too much of that, but I know Mad Dog was pretty ticked off. Said that I'm going to ask you this: do you agree with Mad Dog's statement? He said that Giannis Antetokounmpo is not better than Julius Erving.
Dr. J.
Dr. J.
Uh, I could say no. I don't think he's better. He's not. But they played two different positions, so I don't see why they would compare those two.
That's just because he brought up the point because of, like, he was in the 70s. I think they mentioned Artist Gilmore, and then Brian Windhorst had a point where it's like if you add Dr. J, Artist Gilmore, put them together, that's Giannis, and that was kind of like LeBron's point of like
Okay.
they haven't seen no kind of freak specimen like that in the 70s,
I mean, Kareem was there, so I mean, I
which
don't
is
think
another
Giannis. I don't think Giannis wants Kareem, or there was old Wilt during the '70s, but he was still a beast. But I mean, Giannis would obviously do well in probably any era because he's just that good. But I you want to speak on LeBron saying he was scored 250 points in a game,
I mean,
or just
you
the
can.
whole?
I mean, do you think Giannis? I don't. I mean, obviously, we both know it's exaggeration, and even
Yeah.
everybody mentioned it. It was, but I mean, do you think Giannis could not only dominate, but could he put up close to 100 points? Could he put up 80, 90?
I mean, I could see an 80 piece, maybe 200. I mean, of course, 250 is insane, so that wouldn't happen. But he could
No
score.
spacing?
Yeah, I mean, he could score. I mean, there's not as much spacing, so he'd have to get a lot of his points from fast break type of action. He'd have to have somebody with the outlet. If he played with like a Magic, but Magic was 80s, that's going to get, or maybe a Oscar Robinson, somebody like that, that's going to get him the ball out on the break. I mean, he probably faster than a lot of those guys, so he probably score a lot of points. Now, in a half court setting, he would probably struggle some. And my point for that was Giannis would probably foul out half the time. So Giannis is a little bit because the head down bowling over people would get you a offensive foul quick back then. So if he could stay in the game, he could score a lot. But I think he'd be on the bench, fouled out by third quarter if he plays the style he plays right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I definitely think it would be pretty tough for him, considering the no spacing, considering that there were more of a physical brand of basketball back then. Centers were allowed to, ruffle you up a little bit. But I still think Giannis, just the athletic freak that he is and the speed at
Yeah,
which he gets down. Yeah, I mean, he'd give them fits for sure. I mean,
yeah. I mean, yeah,
I could see a
centers.
60 piece for sure.
Yeah, he would average quite a bit in that era. No disrespect to the '70s and no disrespect to any era, but the athleticism, of course, is different now than then. But you have some specimens back then that would have made life difficult for Giannis, definitely.
So And Stephen A echoed those same sentiments. But I do also want to bring the attention now to Stephen A and his rebuttal to said
Mhm.
LeBron James. Now that I have the quotes in front of me, he would then respond again on his show saying, again, reiterating when LeBron walked up on him, he
Mhm.
said, if that man would have put his hands on me, I would have swung immediately. Swung on him. And
Oh,
we've seen the clips of Stephen A boxing. I'm sure y'all can attest to them. His little
well,
1-2, whatever that was. I'm sure LeBron sleeps well at night knowing that that is the two-piece coming for him. Um, he also said that when you retire, talking to LeBron James,
mhm.
let's see how much I talk about you then. You won't matter much, I promise you. Do you
Mm.
agree with that statement from Mr.
Ooh,
Stephen A. Smith?
Stephen A. throwing out some venom. Uh,
Mhm.
him swinging on LeBron is that wouldn't happen because first of all, by the time that punch got to that slow, if he's we're basing it off of that little boxing montage we saw, by the time that punch arrived at his chin, LeBron probably have hit him about 4 or 5 times already, so he'd be knocked out. And Stephen A. isn't that crazy. Nobody's that crazy. If I saw LeBron in my face like that, I'm not swinging on him. So, and I'm a little closer to his height, so he's not that much bigger than me. But you know, still, you look at that man. That's the Incredible Hulk in some ways. But the second point is kind of crazy. You know, that's when the media doesn't talk about you, that's when they hate you, and they know they want to erase you. But LeBron is such a polarizing figure in sports. Even when he does leave, it doesn't matter if Stephen A. doesn't talk about him; he'll be talked about. I mean, there's people that don't talk about Jordan like that, but Jordan is still very much prominent 20 years after he's retired. So LeBron James is just, I'm gonna say this, he's just as big as Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan was in the NBA, he was he was the face. LeBron is the face. He's going to be talked about for generations to come. We know that because he is just that. He's got so many stat lines that are just crazy. He has so many achievements that will he be talked about like Jordan still is? I don't know, but for the most part, I think that Stephen A. If you want ratings, you're going to talk about LeBron. That's just the facts. So he's going to be talking about LeBron in some capacity, whether negatively or positively. He'll be talking about him for probably 10 more years.
No, I definitely agree. And also, yeah, I agree with sports talk only as well. It did seem like Stephen A kind of got his feelings hurt a little bit with this one. Of course, you don't want to get walked up on, and then people kind of, for better or worse, it looked like he got punked. I'm just say it. He got punked on national TV.
When he came on that next day, it sounded like he had just finished crying.
Yeah.
That was what really messed it up for him. If he had come on, his usual upbeat self, I don't think it would be as bad. But him looking like he wanted to cry, that was that hurt him big time.
Yeah. I mean, he also had a response to the Wendy comment I told you, where LeBron said like they think they're
Mhm.
bleeping best friends when they're not. He said guys are just weird. So he called Wendy weird, and Stephen A responded with, "Nobody defends LeBron James more than that man, and look at what LeBron James did," referring to his comments to Brian Windhorst. Um, hey man, it's getting crazy over here. I mean, he's got a couple other ones. His main thing, my issue is with LeBron James. For the record, LeBron James is full of it. He is a liar. I'm not going to fully disagree with that statement, considering that LeBron is notorious for misquoting song lyrics and saying things that actually aren't true when he's been on some interviews and they said, "Oh, this is what I actually said," and then it wasn't the case. But for this instance, yeah, Stephen A just kind of sounds like he got butthurt. Um, really was not expecting this kind of feud between those two, if I'm going to be completely honest. Um, But regardless, we're in 2025. We live in it. Stephen A versus LeBron. I guess I thought this beef was done after they had the courtside incident and then the response on First Take, and then
Yeah.
again the response on Gil's Arena. So again, you said you didn't want to talk about it, talking about Stephen A. Smith, but here you are continuing to talk about it when you brought it up twice on Gil's Arena, and then again the Stephen A. Smith show. Whatever the case may be, dog, that's all you. Obviously, Stephen A. is one of the biggest names in sports media, so to get punked like that by the face of the NBA, that's got hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this coincided where it's like the perfect storm. So I don't want to call out any conspiracy theories, but Stephen A. getting his 100 million, the NBA having record lows for viewership and things of that nature. Now you go against one of the biggest members of media, and that's going to drum up some attention. So they're going to talk about you and the NBA a little bit more. And now we got different narratives coming up, and so I'm not a conspiracy theorist type of person, but it seemed like perfect timing for a little bit of this. And I don't, I understand LeBron's side of going up to him and the things that happen. It just seems like this just keeps snowballing and snowballing. You would think if it was that serious, it would come to an end quicker, because he said we had to say to Stephen A. That should be it. And Stephen A. is going on and he's saying stuff elsewhere, but I mean, that's what he's supposed to do. That's what he's going to do. He got embarrassed, so he's going to try to save some face. But LeBron did what he did. He made his statement. I thought he'd move on. So it is kind of weird that he's keeping this beef alive. So there's Skip and Gil. Now we got LeBron and Stephen A. What's going to happen with with Nick Wright? Who he's going to beef with? We gotta keep it going. Who's Shannon Sharp going to beef with here soon? We got to keep this ball rolling. The media versus the actual players.
Yeah, but people out here just getting their feelings hurt. But jumping on to the next topic, speaking of hurt, Dame Dollar out indefinitely. He got what's it called? Deep vein thrombosis?
Thrombosis, yeah, the same thing that Wemby's got.
Yeah, this instead of it for Wemby, it was in his right shoulder. For Dame, it's in his right calf. He's out indefinitely. And this is sad, but I actually called this back in our earlier video for 2020 for the season. Talked about like the biggest, I think, like bold predictions, I believe. And I said that Dame is going to go down with injury. Now, I didn't predict it'd be this late in the season, but I was, and this isn't like an actual like, like an ankle or a wrist. Like, you said what?
You put a bad omen on him.
I mean, it's just the Bucks. Like, it's just listen. All right. All jokes aside, though, I hope he gets a full recovery. Obviously, this is an injury you do not want to mess around with.
Yeah.
This is something that could take several weeks, several months. I'm not expecting him to come back.
He's out.
I'm pretty sure he's out for the season, but yes. But having said all that, wish him the best, speedy recovery. I also got to ask you this. Are the Bucks cursed? Right? This Dame era with Giannis, honestly, ever since they won the championship and then the departure of Drew Holiday, and then now the most recent departure of Chris Middleton after he went down with injury and he's been battered and tattered. Then you got last season. Giannis is battered and tattered. He misses the first round. Then Dame ends up, leaving the last couple games of the first round. And now Dame is out again. Are the Bucks cursed? You got Doc Rivers as your coach. That's not a good sign. Dame and Giannis cannot get into a playoff series fully healthy together. This is going to be another season where they go into the postseason without one of their two top guns. The future ain't looking right for Milwaukee, and I really wish my guy Casual was on for this episode because I would have circled back to this point.
I could have asked him. I mean, he probably would love to have. Well, no, he probably wouldn't have because he knew it was coming.
This would have been perfect, but I got to ask you. Number one, are the Bucks cursed? And after that, how far can Giannis take this Bucks team without Damian Lillard? But I'll start with the Bucks, man.
Are they cursed? To me, I'm going to say this, even though I'm a huge Giannis fan, this is karma for all that he did to those coaches he had before who were trying to help these Bucks get to the next level. So they ran off Budenholzer. They ran off can't remember his name.
Oh snap! It was like Vaughn. What's his
I
name?
just see Darvin Ham. That's the only name I can think of, but it's not Darvin Ham. It was the he played before, but yeah, they ran him
Right.
off, and he was actually
Right.
have they were doing great under him. So uh,
Adrian Griffin.
Adrian Griffin, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they do all that to get Doc Rivers, who had been just a huge failure from the time he left Boston until this day right now.
Quick
So I mean,
question:
what's up?
did you hear the Doc Rivers quote that they responded
Mhm.
to? He said that I don't get enough because they were talking about him blowing all those 3-1 leads. He says I don't get enough credit for being for getting those 3 wins. I only get the blame for losing after being up 3-1. I just wanted to throw that out there. Just wanted to get your take on that while you were going.
That is a loser mentality kind of statement. So please, kids, do not listen to Doc Rivers. With that said, like I said, I think it's karma. How far can Giannis take this Bucks team without Dame? I think Giannis has checked out. I think Giannis realizes that the writing's on the wall. They're not going to get it done again. They traded away Middleton, who was, I felt like he was a good friend of Giannis and was a workhorse for that team. Bobby Portis did the stupid stuff he did. I think he sees the kingdom crumbling, and I think that he's going to go out there during the playoffs. He's going to do his best, but I think he's going to be. This is going to be 2010 LeBron, where you know he saw the writing on the wall. He's going to give his best, but he's going to be looking for an exit come this summer. I think he sees the failure of him and Dame. They haven't. I mean, they've been good, but it hasn't been a combination that really puts fear in any team, especially out east. Um, so yeah, I think like I said, I think he's going to do well in the playoffs, but I don't think he's going to go above and beyond to get this team any further because they just don't have the pieces anymore. And uh, I was listening to somebody and they brought up a interesting trade. What do you think of Kevin Durant coming to the Milwaukee Bucks?
For who? Who you giving up?
I mean, if you give Dame and you pretty much got to give up Kuzma and I don't even know who they have. Brooke Lopez. They got to get rid of pretty much a good portion of their team, and then they just have to build around KD and Giannis. But do you think and you think KD would want to go to a super small market in Milwaukee?
Nah, I don't see that working out either contractually, trade wise, or the fit. I mean, you're giving up again. That's the problem with a lot of these new deals and the salary cap. You can't really get these deals done, and it makes sense for both sides. I mean, maybe in a 2K trade scenario, yeah, you can probably find something that works. But KD to the Bucks, I mean, if you could add him to what you already got, sure. I think that obviously bolsters your offense and gives you someone to go to in the fourth quarter. He can hit perimeter shots and a whole lot of things. Not gonna spend too much time, but yeah, nah, I don't see it. It'd be great if they could do it, but
I
they'd
mean,
be
that'd be
giving up
interesting.
their roster to do it. So nah, I don't see it. It'd be cool though on 2K.
So that might be another basketball with big knives. Where can Giannis go this summer? Because we waiting on the KD one, so we
Man, it's hard, man. He makes so much money, and like you literally would have to gut your depth. Or if you have a lot of assets like OKC, you could get it done. But like, are you really going to get a couple first round picks in Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso? Like, if I'm Phoenix, I don't want that. Like, you still got Devin Booker. Like, you're still trying to compete. And I'm sorry, but Caruso and Hartenstein, You replace them with Kevin Durant. Like that's not competing to me. Like
Nah.
unless you're getting rid of Booker and KD, and then you're getting all that draft capital, and then you flip Booker for something else. Like okay, maybe I can make something work with that, but it's hard, dude. And Houston's the same way. They got picks, they got players, but they're young, and I don't know if they're going to roll the dice until maybe after this postseason, where we see what they got and what they maybe are lacking in a postseason setting.
I agree. Let's see. KD just needs a team like Golden State. He was always the guy. If you give him free reign, he's unstoppable. He's going to go to the Lakers if you want to win another chip.
I don't want him on the Lakers,
The
dog.
Lakers would. It's either KD and Luka's gone, or you're gonna have to get rid of LeBron because there's no way that they have the salary to match up with trading for KD.
They'd have to give all their depth and then get a bunch of two-way YMCA G leaguers to fill up the rest of the roster because they ain't no way they paying. And KD's probably due for some more money. Yeah, no, that ain't happening.
You can go out there and get them old big three players can come back and fill out the roster.
Give us McCants. Give us McCants.
Yeah, break McCants back.
Give me what was it Quincy Acey, I think. Reggie Evans. Go ahead and get these Rough Riders, these junkyard dogs. Need those people on my roster for that run because we gonna need it. It's gonna be treacherous out there.
I mean, that would be. I'm sure Lakers fans would rejoice if that could happen, but it's going to be a. That's going to be a tough way. They're going to have a tough time getting that to work out, and they're going to have a tough time filling out a roster because.
But
they better hope Bronny putting up G League numbers because he's going to be probably starting on that team because they have nothing but old people my age. I'll take a year-long $1 million contract and go out there and
sit in that corner. What you're gonna do is gonna be sitting in that corner.
I'm gonna sit in the corner and
go compete your life away on defense. You better get every loose ball. You better grab every rebound.
Well, I'm not the one for you then.
But do you think they're first round exit, or can they get past a team like they probably would play any combination of Indiana? I mean, they could end up playing somebody like the Pistons, but I think the top 3 seeds in the East are pretty much locked with the Cavs, Celtics, and Knicks. So yeah, it'd probably be Bucks. I mean, Pacers or Pistons. Like, do you think him by himself can take this Bucks team at least out of the first round?
It depends. I think Indiana will be extremely tough, even with Dame, with the way they've been playing. I think Detroit. I think they could probably get Detroit. That's still a tough matchup because they have some decent depth. It's just they're going to have some people step up. Kuzma, Taurean Prince, those guys. You're going to need Brook Lopez to get you something on the offensive end because you're losing a lot of offense. And if teams know what to do, Boston Celtics showed them, I forget what year it was, how to take Giannis out. And even the Heat, in some ways showed them how to take the Bucks out and pretty much nullify Giannis. So teams have the blueprint. Do they have the pieces? I think less likely Detroit does, but I still think they have the pieces to really, rough him up and keep him from getting to where he actually wants to go. And with no other big scoring punch, they're doomed. So, like I said, I think he's going to give it all he has, but I don't think he wants it as much without the pieces. He just sees the writing on the wall. And you have Doc Rivers there, so.
And you can't ignore Doc Rivers. I think he could take them out of the first round. I think this is where like a player like Kevin Porter Jr., the Kuzmas, like I think the combination of them with Giannis, I think it'll be just enough to squeak by the first round. I mean, Indiana will still give them fits because they Indiana could have beaten them fully healthy. So I don't
Yeah,
want to fully
Indiana.
dismiss Indiana,
People sleeping
but
on Indiana.
with Giannis in a 7 game series where the game slows down a bit, I know Indiana still likes to, get up and down, but
Mhm.
when the game does eventually slow down, having a guy like Giannis is going to be so important for the Milwaukee Bucks. Having a guy who can come in and light it up like the Gary Trent Jr., like Michael or not Michael Kevin Porter Jr. Excuse me. Having guys like that, Kuzma who has some playoff experience, get whatever you can from Brooke Lopez. You do get Bobby Portis back, I think, at some point by the postseason. So I think the combination of those guys can take down Pacers team, who I think has kind of taken a step back this season, and that's mainly because of Tyrese Halliburton. Um,
Been
but
playing good though.
but if they stay like currently constructed, they go up against Cleveland or Boston. Yeah, it's over after that. So they're definitely going home in the second round. But I give them respect enough where Giannis can take them to the second round. But I think at that point, that's all she wrote.
My question is, does he want to expend that energy just to be a second round exit?
Yeah, I mean Giannis is definitely going to give 110. He's always given 110. My thing is
Yeah, this
if
is getting a little diva-ish for me. He's getting a little he's a little diva.
nah, see that
He's a little diva.
I'm not gonna agree with that whole diva take. You've had
He's a
that
diva.
ever since Adrian Griffin got the boot. You've been calling him a diva the last couple of
Yeah,
years. But
he got the purse and everything. He got the lip gloss and all
nah, I can't do my man Giannis like that. But nah, I think he can definitely get him out the first round. Um, but hey, if he goes down kind of hard, maybe he don't get back up. Maybe risking your legs and your body for this
that.
postseason run, maybe it's not worth it if I'm Giannis, personally. But only time will tell. Wish them the best,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
I'm
Bucks are gonna
glad.
need
Yeah, glad they
because the
caught it
Pistons
early,
need them.
so he can get the care he needs.
But yeah, that's true too. But yeah, the Pistons could definitely knock them out of the 5th seed, and they could mess
Mhm.
around and play New York in the first round. I mean, I still
Mm.
like, I love Giannis against them because yeah, they have nobody for him in that series, personally. But regardless, second round exit is where we both see the Bucks. But staying on the topic of the postseason, let's go out west. So we have the Rockets and we have the Pistons. Two teams or Pistons we just kind of briefly talked about, but the Rockets having their kind of little Cinderella story. Both of these teams are unproven. You're taking the Pistons, who basically went from basketball mediocrity, being the worst in the East, to now a
Mhm.
respectable 6th seed. Almost probably could be a 5th seed if Milwaukee keeps losing games. Um, but again, a respectable team, and you have a team like the Rockets, shot their way up to the 2 seed, sitting pretty comfortably, might I add, at that 2 seed. So they'll have home court, assuming they stay in that spot. Obviously they're not going to take the 1 seed or nothing like that, but they're going to be easily a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. So that being said, who are you higher on for for a postseason run? You got the Houston Rockets or the Detroit Pistons?
Well, I'm pretty upset with the Detroit Pistons right now because I'm in the finals of the fantasy league for Michael Jordan fans are the best, and Kate Cunningham is sitting, which is killing my team. Um, but to be serious, out of those two, I want to say the Rockets because I like their that they are a solid defensive team. But so is Detroit. But I just feel like they're a little bit on the right path than Pistons. But I think the East is probably easier than getting wins out west because you have so many solid teams. So I could see the Pistons. It just depends on their matchup. If you said there's a potential they can match up with the Bucks.
Yes, they could, because right now, well, I won't even say they could, because they could pass the Bucks and take that 5th seed and play a team
Mhm.
like Indiana. and that could make the Bucks drop to 6 and play the Knicks. But I don't
Okay.
know if they could both move up to the 4 and 5. That Indiana
Okay.
have to take a
So
pretty steep fall.
if they're playing a team like Indiana, or well, Milwaukee's probably out of the running, but if they're playing somebody like that, I think they go further. Where Houston, I got to see the seedings real quick.
They have right now the Clippers are 7 and the Timberwolves are 8, so it'd be whoever wins out of those two would be the 7th seed that plays
Okay.
Houston, assuming the standings stay the same.
Okay.
So you're looking at anywhere from Sacramento, Phoenix, the Clippers, and Minnesota. I mean, Warriors probably could fall in that if they continue to lose games with Curry being out or whatever, but essentially it's those 4 teams and the rest.
I mean, they'd have to pray that they get Phoenix.
You don't think they could beat Sacramento?
Or Sacramento?
You got them over. You got.
I think they can beat Sacramento. They can beat. I don't think they can beat the Clippers.
Ooh, interesting.
I don't think they can beat the Clippers. I think Minnesota would be a series. I could see that going. I could see that being a 7-game series, and I think that Minnesota is just the tiniest bit more seasoned that I think they can get the win. Having fought the way they fought last year. I mean, I'm not saying they're championship contenders, but I think they could beat Houston. Houston is they just don't shoot the three as good as I think they need to be to really be a solid contender or go far in the postseason. To me, they're kind of like last year's Orlando Magic. They were a really good team, but I don't think they're going to be a good playoff team just yet. So with all that said, I think I thought the Rockets would go further, but I think there's so many tough matchups in the West that's the only thing hurting them is that I think those teams that they could potentially play match up well enough with them that they would beat them. Whereas the Pistons, I think, could potentially beat an Indiana team. They can't beat New York. So, I mean, I don't know who I'm going to pick. So, so out of those two teams, I'm gonna say Houston just because if the seeding is right, I think they can beat some of those teams. Where the Pistons, they have to have the exact right team for them to go further.
I disagree. I think for one, I definitely think the Pistons could definitely upset the New York Knicks. The Knicks are god awful on the defensive end this season.
If Jalen Brunson comes back and he's good to go, you think?
I think they could beat them with Jalen Brunson. I mean, I think I would still favor the Knicks slightly with Jalen Brunson, but Brunson's supposed to. He's not going to get reevaluated for another couple of weeks, and the postseason is a few weeks away. So you're talking about potentially a hobbled Jalen Brunson. We already know the defensive mishaps with the Mikal Bridges, the OG Anunobys. Towns, we know, isn't all that in a bag of chips by himself defensively. So you got a daunting task. I mean, obviously the New York Knicks still have home court. And like I said, I would still favor them, but I'm not going to solely dismiss. Like, I think Detroit has a really, really good chance of beating them. Where on the flip side, you get the Clippers. If you're the Rockets in the first round, I mean, unless Kawhi goes down, which is always a possibility in the playoffs, but a full power Clippers team with Harden, because you got Harden going against his former team in the Rockets. That's amazing storylines there. Fully healthy, I think the Clippers have just enough to take out the Rockets. I don't know about the Timberwolves. I mean, I still would favor Houston since they have home court. I think the list stops there. I think if Phoenix gets them, Houston's going to dog Phoenix, probably in a worse way than Minnesota did last year.
Get the brooms out.
Get the brooms out. Get the gentleman sweeps out. Whatever. It's bad. And then Sacramento, yeah, I'm just not very high on this team post De'Aaron Fox. So yeah, no. So there's two teams that could beat them, and two teams that probably will definitely get smacked by them. Then you have Detroit. I mean, I think Detroit can beat New York, and I definitely think if they move up to Indiana, even though it'd be more of a dogfight series, I would honestly favor Detroit in that matchup, just because I think now obviously it really depends on Cade Cunningham and his level of play. Can he elevate his level of play? We'll need to see that. And again, both these squads are unproven, but I'm not high on this New York Knicks team, and I'm not very high on this Indiana Pacers team. So with those two things working in my favor for Detroit, I would say Detroit would go farther because I definitely would see them. They would either way. I think both of these teams probably get out the first round. That's probably it.
Yeah,
But at
I
least
agree.
who would have a better showing? Who am I higher on in the first round? I think Detroit can come out and knock some heads off. Whereas I think Houston definitely, obviously, both teams are very inexperienced, but you're going against again Clippers, more experienced ball club, more veteran ball club. Minnesota has some experience after having a couple postseason runs. So I
Mhm.
favor those two teams a little bit over Houston. But then you have Detroit and you have the Knicks, who I'm not high on, and the Pacers, who have also taken a step back. I think the Pistons have a higher ceiling just to show better in the first round because both teams are going home in the second round. I don't care what they say.
Dang, the second best team in the West can't get further than the fifth team in the East. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's interesting. That will be your take. But I mean, I can see it. The West is just a little different than what you have on the Eastern side. So I mean,
I mean, because
I'll live
you
with that.
got that you got Boston waiting for you in the second round. If you're Detroit, if you somehow get past New York, Boston's going to sweep the remnants of you. And then if if the Rockets somehow get by the first round, they got Jokic and then Denver. Yeah, even though it'd be a little bit tougher since they're not as deep. Nuggets in six.
Look at 6. Okay. I mean, I'm not mad at either one of them. So I mean, I just think though, like you said, they're both second round exits. So I mean, I guess it's a participation trophy to say you got further than the other one, but you're still sitting at home watching the NBA finals.
So I mean, I think that's just about wraps it up. Definitely looking forward to talking about the postseason and like getting into the matchups. I've been like so desperately waiting to like talk about that and see like
Yes,
who's
it's
got this
coming soon.
matchup. It's coming soon. Just don't want to jump the gun this early, but we're sitting at about 53 minutes into the stream. So I think that's everything that I got. Unless you had anything left, any closing remarks, any last minute
Um,
questions.
I don't. Like I said, it's been a crazy week, so I'm kind of trying to to get. It was a job just to get here tonight. So I appreciate you guys for coming in, Sports Talk, for giving us some of his insight and his opinions coming up. Speaking of opinions, if you guys got a little time, I will be transitioning over to Opinion Stated. Q from that channel invited me on. I think he's watching the Lakers and Pacers game. So he just wanted, to do a live stream. And get our thoughts, get thoughts on the whole LeBron conversation with Pat McAfee. So I'm gonna head over there right after this. So if you haven't checked him out, please come over. Great channel. He's very knowledgeable. So come check us out, and please continue to support the channel. At 204, we're trying to get to that 300 goal. Hopefully by April, hopefully by May, we can get to that 300, 400 range. So, but we're going to I'm trying to get us back on a schedule. I'm fighting to do that, but please check out the GoatCast podcast show, and have 10 Toes Down tomorrow with King Speech and his crew, and they're going to dive even further into that LeBron conversation from today with Pat McAfee. So just appreciate you guys. Just continue to support the channel, and we will try to be here to give you our opinions on what's going on in basketball.
All right. With that being said, we will catch you guys on the next live stream. Appreciate everybody for pulling up. Until the next time, Lakers in 6.
Wow, come on. Nuggets in 4.